The ability to develop talent, role modelling values of an organisation to me are really important. So that's why it's really important that you align to the values. If you don't align to the values, it will be very difficult for you to role model them. Having an engaged team, having good individual as well as team contribution, being accountable is incredibly important. And also, of course, a leadership role does need to exist as well. Think about how you can demonstrate your contribution at an enterprise level. And also, I think being emotionally intelligent is very important too.
For me, there's only one test of leadership, which is, will the people follow? So, in terms of understanding whether you're ready, it's understanding what you can bring to the organization, what you can bring to other people. And to achieve that, you've got to have a deep understanding of yourself.
As a part of our natural career progression, we often reach to a point to pursue next step in our career. I think effective way to communicate your ambition is to establish certain goal, likely in your annual performance objective period, because that's when you're supposed to be discussing your career development. In doing so, I think it's good to know your option in advance. Review your skill set and think about what opportunities are possible. Also, you should probably think about certain challenges the firm is facing, and you try to lead a project that can be a part of solution. In other words, trying to align your ambition to company's solution if you can. Then you discuss your achievement and qualification, how you are ready for such opportunities. When you talk about your ambitions, it's better to be prepared beforehand, lay out your case, and be logical.
So effectively, it's not showing ambition from a vacuum, right? But actually showing a willingness to step up and take accountability. And through stepping up and taking accountability, letting others recognize what they will or won't recognize, right? And by the way, therein lies a little bit of the opportunity for people not to always feel like they are victims of bias. Because if one feels like they're giving it their absolute all, working really hard, taking accountability to the next level, even beyond those that are expected of her or him, then there's no judgment that could come back and hurt you, right? Judgment of others then becomes a secondary thing if you're comfortable that you've done everything that you needed to do to deliver what you're supposed to deliver.
Personally, I think it's about looking at the role requirements and competencies at the next level and being honest about your contributions and your ambitions within the organisation. Explain clearly your impact, your contribution at a team, individual and organisational level. Don't worry about your perception. Just make sure you plan that conversation well. Run it by someone you trust, ideally a sponsor or a mentor, and then just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
I think you communicate ambition without being perceived negatively by being confident in saying you want more from your career without being arrogant. Clearly, you must be delivering at work, but also be part of the vision to grow the firm.
In my mind, ambition is actually a positive feel. Someone having ambition should be considered positive, and it's good to show you have ambition. It's okay to show it. It's just in the way that you show it, for sure. So I would suggest people to use the routes that are available to them through their company. So you would speak to your line manager about your career development and your future progress. You would use the development tools that are available for you. Definitely find a mentor or several mentors and speak to them about your ambition. And also try and get involved in projects that are outside of your day-to-day that will help you move you in that direction of your ambition. So don't be shy. Don't talk about your ambition.
So I think the difference is between individual ambition and team or company ambition. All through my career, I was challenged and given feedback that I was too driven, too ambitious, initially too money orientated, but that's because I had huge debts to pay off. Later to promotion orientated. But again, there was just this voice in my head that I had to achieve. I had to fulfill these dreams and ambitions that my parents hadn't been able to, and the community behind me. And I had to kind of wake myself up out of that. But actually, when it ultimately came down to becoming a broader leader, what was really important was for me to separate that personal ambition for the ambition for the business. What is it? And to be able to communicate that here's what I think the company needs, here's what I think the team needs, here's what I think the organization needs to succeed, and here's what I can bring to that. And it's that mapping of, I kind of say X marks the spot, kind of my ambition and dreams and aspirations, and where that crosses with the company's needs, dreams, ambitions, that's the magic spot.
So this is an area that I think I myself have struggled with. Trying to project ambition but not being perceived negatively is difficult, it's hard. And I think there's also a perception in a number of people's mind that you need to progress in your career quickly. But speed is not, in your career, is not success. So I think, for me, it's something, as I said, that I myself have struggled with, but actually reflecting on it, articulating your desire to learn and your thirst for knowledge is a better approach than necessarily articulating ambition. Sometimes a lateral move sideways has, in particularly in my case, has produced the ability to step 2 or 3 levels higher rather than racing through my career for the next title. So I would just say, just be patient and actually look at the opportunities, because they could lead to better things.
Now, I think this is the hardest part of the whole questionnaire and generally of one's career path. I think it's, for me personally, and I think for many people that I know, it's the hardest is to ask for things. And it's the hardest to ask for promotions, pay rise. It's much easier to ask for new responsibility, for more work, because it's for reason it's encouraged, you'll be given more work. But to kind of ask for recognition of what you think you've achieved and ask for what you think you deserve is extremely, extremely hard. And it's for several reasons. Personally for me, and I think for many, also for many female, I think it's our nature to kind of underestimate where we are, what we've done, sort of the deserving aspect of it. Culturally, and maybe from personal experience and upbringing, I always was taught that if you keep your head down, you sit and you do your work and you are consistent, somebody's gonna notice, and eventually you're gonna get whatever it is you deserve, which, as we know, never really happens. And the third thing, specifically, I think for our industry, because to kind of ask for things, especially when it's to do with the pay, you kind of need to know what's out there. And we don't, because this industry is so notoriously intransparent of what the pay rates are, the male, female, the different levels between different firms. So it's really hard to come and say, listen, I think this is not enough because I should be making X more, because you just don't have the statistics and it's just not available. So all of this makes it extremely, extremely difficult on so many levels. But I think the biggest lesson that I learned over the years, that if you don't ask, it never happens. And unfortunately, we wait and we miss on a lot of things, and then eventually it might be too late. And once you figure out you actually have to ask, somebody else would have asked before you. And also, unfortunately, I think people that have had mentors in the industry that know how the system works, they're able to ask a lot sooner than people that don't, that come from the outside. And so you really need to figure out all these ins and outs. And it's I don't think there's any good advice I could give other than you have to ask. And it's hard.
My best advice for securing a promotion or a pay rise is to research. Research what your worth is in the industry, in your field. Understand what pay and compensation you could achieve elsewhere. And that's not just necessarily to benchmark yourself just for the sake of it. It's to know your worth. You know your worth in your abilities, you know your worth in your talent. But what pay and promotion is a commitment from you to the firm and from the firm to you. And when you negotiate, you need to understand what your worth is to be able to have a full discussion with your organisation and show them the commitment and ask them for the commitment back.
Understand what the criteria for promotion selection are. So to me, it's similar to a project. You should know the different skill sets you need to demonstrate, and you need to make sure that you're thoughtful about how you demonstrate those skill sets, either by the work that you do or making sure you're involved in projects or work that give you the opportunity to demonstrate those skill sets. I think that you need to know who your key stakeholders in terms of determining a promotion are, and make sure that you're connected with those. And then finally get feedback. And by feedback, I mean having honest conversations with the people who ideally are the stakeholders in your promotion path to understand what they view as areas for development for you. So I think data is incredibly important. Do your research. Again, plan the conversation. Ask questions based on logic, and speak to headhunters about this as well. I think it's really important that you continue to maintain relationships with headhunters or people you trust within that industry, so that you've always got some knowledge. If you needed knowledge, that you've got someone that you can lean on for that knowledge. It's something that I've noticed, especially amongst ethnically diverse friends, that if you're looking for a job, you get the job and then you don't maintain that relationship with that headhunter. So try as best as you can to have those coffees, as much as they take time, have those lunches to maintain that relationship.
As a leader, you're responsible for people, or you're responsible for revenues, or for managing a cost center, or whatever it is. You're responsible for something. And so to be recognized for that, you've got to demonstrate responsibility. And let's say in the context of people, by developing others, you don't have to manage someone to care about and develop other people. And I think that's a real fallacy. A lot of people kind of wait. So when I'm manager, when I'm the boss, I'll do this, that, and the other. But I know in my career, I invested in other people. I invested in other people's careers. I coached and mentored and developed and gave tough feedback and kind of encouraged and motivated way before I was given the chance to lead. So by the time that I was asked to be a leader, and the first time was when I was 28 years old, and I was asked to be head of fixed income, having never done that job before, actually having never been a fixed income fund manager. But what I believe they saw in me was someone who understood the business, who cared about the business and the industry and our role within it, but fundamentally understood the people and cared about them and was able to develop them to be their best. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say that you've got to be able to demonstrate.
I think to be recognised as a future leader, you really need to behave as one. So, you need people's perception to be that you are one of the grown-ups, you are a leader in the room. And that means, being a team player, having a voice, driving solutions,
and essentially behaving as the leader that you want to become to be, because perception generally becomes reality.
In order to become recognised as a future leader, there's all the things that you have to do internally, but we should think about some of the external things that you need to do. So you shouldn't ever forget that the world that you occupy is quite small. People talk to each other, people look for advice, they look for recommendations. So always be aware about your actions and how they ricochet externally. I'd also really think about how you build up your network. Networking is such a powerful skill, and to be able to do that properly and get advice from people and also to help other people, you'll never know when that will come back on you. And the other thing as well is to think about external opportunities outside of your core job, whether it's helping in a society or an organisation that's related to your job. All these things will help you become better at what you do, but also become more well known, both the hard, more technical skills that you might be offering, but also some of the softer skills of collaboration and putting yourself forward and determination and all those things that are really important for someone to see you as a future leader.